I'm clearly not dressed as formally as some of the other speakers here tonight, and it's a little bit awkward to be backstage surrounded by all these suits and ties and dresses and to be wearing one of the most unflattering outfits known to mankind. But allow me to explain. Good evening, my name is Emily Morgan. The outfit I'm wearing is the product of 11 years training in martial arts. Yep, when I was 5 years old, my parents signed me up for my first karate class, and I cannot begin to explain how much excitement I felt. As it turns out, you don't actually learn how to do a backflip on your first day. Shocker, right? But I found a love for it anyways. I stuck with it, trained hard, at some points just about 8 days a week, and 5 years later I got my black belt. In fact, I kept training all 11 years to get my 3rd degree black belt, and I eventually took up Krav Maga, which for those who don't know is the Israeli self-defense system designed for the military. It's also known as the deadliest martial art in the world, and what I will be demonstrating later as I throw around my slightly hesitant partner and coworker, Luis Arce. Can we get a preemptive round of applause for him? He's not getting paid for tonight. With that background, I would like to transition into the main intent of my TED Talk, that being my experience teaching martial arts. About 3 years ago, I was offered an opportunity by my instructor to help her teach a summer-long program of Krav Maga for adults. Like adults, you know, adults, adults, people older than 18, people I had absolutely no experience interacting with. If you can't tell, I was terrified. But being broke and a freshman not quite weighed down by the pressures of IB yet, of course I accepted. Fortunately, the class ended up doing quite well, and about a year later I was offered another opportunity to teach what we call our Little Dragons, a program of karate for preschoolers. Now, despite my inner germaphobe begging me to turn down the offer, again I accepted. And again, a little bit for the paycheck. But in retrospect, it's not the money that I'm grateful for, it's everything that I learned. For starters, I learned that knowledge can only get you so far. Much more important skills to have are those of communication, adaptation, and improvisation. My 11 years of experience drained from me the moment I walked on those mats. And at some points, I learn material minutes before I have to get in front of a room and teach it. And unfortunately, I know this is a familiar feeling for all of us students out there. But what I eventually discovered is that the key to doing this is focusing on 3 main points. Groupings of 3 are the easiest groupings to memorize. So, for example, if I were teaching you how to punch, I would tell you to 1, put your dominant foot back, 2, keep your elbows tucked, and 3, twist your body for power. If I told you anything more than that, like how the quickest pathway is a straight line, keep your thumb in front of and on top of your knuckles, maintain 90 fists, clench your hand with the innermost 2 knuckles, throw your opposite shoulder back and keep your heel off the ground, most people would forget everything. But lessons like these came from teaching my adults, and as much as I enjoyed that class, there's been even more to learn from teaching my preschoolers. In my opinion, there is some confidence unique to children, which renders them completely unapologetic to the world around them for who they are. And because of this, you can get to know them better than any other person. Admittedly, at some points, a little bit more than you would like to, speaking from experience. But in the end, these connections allow you to reflect on yourself, by what about yourself you see in them. For example, I had one student who, without fail, would cry every single time he didn't pass a test. And I felt like I was looking in a mirror, because I too distinctly remember crying every single time I didn't pass a test. So I had to sit down with him and say this: there's no such thing as failure, just an opportunity to learn. You have to focus on the amazing things that you did right, and let that define you. There's no shame in taking your time to learn something. But interestingly enough, as I spoke these words, I had a sort of revelation. I needed to hear them too. I needed to hear them and apply them to my own life. I wanted to be the role model I wish I had. Another one of the biggest lessons that has stayed with me through every single class is that everybody deserves a chance. Everybody deserves a good morning, a good night, a how are you, a role model, and a pep talk. Everybody deserves the opportunity to learn. I've discovered that the students who walk through my doors with a fuss, or within 5 minutes already know that we're both going to be crying by the end of class, are the same ones begging for attention because maybe they don't have enough of it. Even as toddlers, we all have our own secret battle. And so despite how draining teaching may become, I know that the best thing I can do is give a few extra high fives, put in twice as much energy, be a little bit more patient than usual, and let them leave feeling proud of themselves. But the wonderful thing is that with time, this patience and positivity didn't end when I walked off the mats. My introductions to new students too shy to say their name became introductions to my peers who I'd seen every day but not really talked to. Memorizing lesson plans became memorizing chemistry concepts and character names. Pep talks to students upset over not earning a stripe became pep talks to myself in the mirror every morning. Empowering my students became empowering myself and living and thriving. As much as I have taught other people, I have learned things myself. And because of this, I would like to encourage each and every one of you to find something you're passionate about, to surrender yourself to it, to learn and grow from it, and when you feel ready, to teach it to other people. Because ideas are the most valuable currency we have in this world. And by teaching one thing, there are infinite lessons to learn. Thank you.